Welcome to the deep dive. If you own or manage a business here in Texas, you definitely know the phrase "at will employment." It's like the bedrock, right?
It is. It sounds
Yeah.
straightforward, powerful even.
Yeah, but then an employee does something, well, let's say controversial, outside of work, and suddenly that power feels, I don't know, really fragile.
It really does. That's the moment of truth for, HR folks and especially for small and mid-sized businesses. They just can't afford big legal mistakes.
Exactly. So the big challenge we're unpacking today, it's this tightrope walk. Can you legally fire someone for what they do off the clock in Texas?
And it's tricky because while Texas gives employers a lot of leeway, the reality is much more complex. You've got potential lawsuits, you've got unemployment claims to think about.
Right.
It's definitely not as simple as just saying, you're fired because I feel like it.
Absolutely not. And to help us navigate this whole minefield, really, we're digging deep into the latest guidance from the unit consulting.
Ah, good source. They specialize in exactly this for Texas businesses, particularly the small and mid-sized ones.
Yeah, they do. So our mission today is basically to pull out the essential checklist, the stuff you need to know to make termination decisions about off-duty conduct that are, well, not just legal, but defensible before the TWC, in court, everywhere.
Defensible is the key word there.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this. So let's start with the foundation, because I think this is where a lot of the confusion starts. Texas at-will employment. What does it actually mean?
At its core, it means an employer can fire an employee, anytime. For a good reason, a bad reason, or really no reason at all.
Sounds simple enough.
But, and this is the huge but, there's that fine print, unless restricted by a contract or statute.
Ah.
And that's where all the risk lives. That caveat, even what looks like a clear-cut at-will firing can blow up into a discrimination suit if you haven't followed the rules very carefully.
So the biggest hurdles aren't always about what the employee did necessarily. It might be about who they are.
Precisely. The main restrictions are those anti-discrimination laws.
Yeah.
You've got the Texas Labor Code, Chapter 21, and then the federal big one, Title 7.
Right, Civil Rights Act.
Exactly. And what they say, essentially, is, look, you can fire someone for doing something problematic off-duty, but you absolutely cannot fire them because of their race, their religion, sex, disability, age.
Yeah.
The protected characteristics.
Okay, but hang on. Let's say I have an employee and they post something genuinely awful online, like truly hateful stuff, but they also happen to be in a protected class. Doesn't the conduct itself justify the firing regardless?
That's the tension, isn't it? The conduct might justify it, but your investigation, your documentation, everything has to show that the motivation, was purely the conduct and its impact on the business.
Not their protected status.
Not even a tiny bit, because of their protected status. For instance, say 3 employees posted controversial things. If you only fire the one who's black or female or over 40, well, you're basically inviting a claim that you just used the post as an excuse, as pretext for discrimination.
Wow, okay. That's a really critical point. It's about consistency in how you apply the rules.
Consistency is everything.
So, moving beyond the discrimination angle, when does purely personal behavior actually cross that line? When does it become a justifiable workplace issue?
It boils down to impact. The behavior has to actually connect back to the business. The unit consulting's guidance brings it down into 3 main ways.
Okay.
1, it tangibly damages the company's reputation. 2, it undermines safety in the workplace. Or 3, it fundamentally erodes the trust you need to have in that employee to do their specific job.
So if it's purely private, no connection, no impact.
Then you likely have no grounds for termination based on that conduct.
Got it. Okay, let's take a common scenario. Arrests. An employee gets arrested over the weekend. What's the protocol? Panic.
Well, the urge might be panic. But the first step has to be objectivity. You've got to look at the alleged conduct and ask, how does this actually affect their specific job?
So it depends on the role.
Absolutely. If you have a delivery driver arrested for a DWI, well, that's a direct hit on safety, insurance, everything. Obvious connection.
Right.
Or someone handling company finances arrested for, say, embezzlement or fraud. That trust is gone. Completely justifiable. But, maybe an admin assistant gets into a minor dispute, totally unrelated to work. The impact on their ability to file papers might be 0.
And the TWC, the Texas Workforce Commission, they have specific advice here, don't they, about not just jumping to conclusions based on the news?
They do. They strongly advise against acting solely on, like, a news report or a police blotter item. Before you take any action, you need to meet privately with the employee.
Talk to them first.
Yes. Hear their side. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe charges were dropped instantly. If you act without that due process, your defense later on gets much, much weaker.
Okay, that meeting sounds crucial, both for fairness and for your own records. Now, what about stuff that's more reputational, like someone getting involved with extremist groups or maybe displaying hate symbols
Yeah.
publicly?
Yeah, that's another tough one. And here, your company policies become absolutely critical.
How so?
Well, if an employee engages in that kind of behavior, it can justify termination. But you have to clearly link it back to a violation of a specific, written workplace policy.
Like a code of conduct or professionalism rules.
Exactly. Policies on ethical conduct, non-discrimination, maybe even rules about communications that harm the company's public image.
So let's say my company has a strong policy against hate speech, maybe because we serve a really diverse community. An employee publicly displays hate symbols. I can point to that policy violation.
You can, provided you also document the harm, the tangible impact.
Back to impact.
Always back to impact. Did a major client complain? Did other employees raise concerns or refuse to work with that person? Was there negative press? You need to document it. It can't just be, well, I found it offensive. It needs to be tied to a documented negative effect on the business.
Okay, so we've covered the grounds for a lawful firing under at will, being careful about discrimination and linking conduct to impact. But then comes the next battle, right? The one that often hits the bottom line hardest for smaller businesses.
The unemployment benefits claim? Yes. That's a whole separate fight. And frankly, it's often a higher hurdle to clear.
Higher than just proving the termination was lawful.
Oh, much higher. Often. The TWC isn't primarily focused on whether you had the right to fire the person under at will. They're asking a different question. Did the employee commit misconduct connected with the work?
Misconduct connected with the work. Why is that standard so much tougher?
Because the purpose is different. At will is about your right to manage your workforce. The TWC is deciding if this person should be disqualified from getting state unemployment benefits. That affects state funds. It affects your company's unemployment tax rate directly.
So they need a stronger reason to deny benefits.
Exactly. To disqualify someone, you, the employer, have to prove the off-duty conduct wasn't just problematic, but that it showed a willful disregard for your company's interests. That's the misconduct standard.
Okay, and here's where, like you said, it gets really interesting. The Texas Labor Code, Section 201.016, it defines misconduct pretty tightly. The Unit Consulting article laid out 3 specific conditions for when off-duty conduct can meet that standard. Let's walk through those.
Okay. Condition 1. The conduct has to violate a reasonable workplace policy that the employee actually knew about or reasonably should have known about.
So back to having clear communicated policies.
Crucial. If there was no policy against it, good luck arguing it was misconduct.
Makes sense. Condition 2.
Condition 2. It has to directly affect the employee's specific work duties or workplace safety. Again, you need that functional link. How did this off-duty thing concretely impact their job performance or the safety of others?
Okay, and the third one. This sounds like the toughest.
It often is.
Yeah.
Condition 3. The conduct must cause measurable harm to your business interests.
Measurable harm, not just potential harm or vague harm.
Measurable. Tangible. Did you lose clients specifically because of this?
Right.
Can you show a direct financial loss? Was there a significant documented disruption to operations? If the employee got arrested, maybe it was even publicized, but you can't actually show any real damage to the business.
Then the TWC might say.
The TWC is very likely to say you failed to prove misconduct connected with the work, and they'll approve the benefits, and your tax rate could go up.
Wow, measurable harm. That phrase really changes the calculation, doesn't it? Especially when so much damage today feels reputational, a bit fuzzy. Can I just tell the TWC, look, morale tanked, or I think clients judged us?
Generally, no.
Yeah.
That's usually not specific enough. They want something more concrete. Did you have to spend actual money on PR to fix it? Did you lose contract X? Did employee Y suddenly become unable to perform task Z because of the incident? If the conduct was, say, private, off-duty, and you fired them just because you disapproved, even if it was technically okay under at will.
Forget about denying benefit.
Almost certainly yes. Because the conduct wasn't connected to the job in a way that caused measurable, documented harm.
That completely reframes the risk. It's not just about avoiding a lawsuit, it's about protecting your operating costs from higher unemployment taxes.
Okay, so let's pivot. Let's talk strategy. Assuming a business has identified a legitimate impact, has documented harm, what's the checklist for doing the investigation right? for being consistent.
Right, because the goal now is to bulletproof your decision against claims of discrimination or unfairness. And the absolute key, as we mentioned, is consistency.
So how do you achieve that, especially when dealing with something sensitive like an arrest?
You need clear, discrete steps. Step 1, confirm the information, but do it quietly. Don't start calling the police station or the employee's spouse. Use official channels if needed, or rely on what the employee tells you.
And then that meeting we talked about.
Definitely. Step 2, meet privately with the employee. Lay out the facts as you know them, explain specifically why you're concerned about the impact on their job, and then let them respond fully. Listen. And document that meeting.
Document everything
Yeah.
thoroughly. Then comes step 3, and this is often the hardest, especially in smaller companies where people know each other.
What's that?
You have to evaluate the job impact objectively. And crucially, you have to compare this situation to how you've treated other employees in similar roles for similar conduct in the past.
The consistency check.
Exactly. If you fired employee A last year for a public incident, but now you give employee B, who did something similar, just a warning because maybe they're a top performer,
You've just created a huge problem for yourself.
a huge vulnerability. Someone will argue, likely successfully, that the difference in treatment wasn't about the conduct. It was about something else, maybe their race, age, gender, or just plain favoritism.
That inconsistency becomes the smoking gun, basically.
Right.
Proof that the stated reason for firing wasn't the real reason.
Precisely. The TWC, the courts, they see inconsistency as strong evidence of potential bias or pretext. Consistency is your best defense. If you can show a clear pattern, anyone who does X faces consequence Y. Your decision is much, much stronger.
Okay, so let's nail this down. The Unit Consulting article basically gives us a final self-audit. 6 key questions every Texas employer should ask before pulling the trigger on termination for off-duty conduct. This feels like the core takeaway.
It really is. Question 1. Is the reason for termination definitely lawful under anti-discrimination laws? Have you double-checked for any potential biases or pretext?
Question 2. Does the conduct clearly violate an existing workplace policy that was actually communicated to employees? You can't enforce a secret rule.
Good point. Question 3. Has the conduct harmed your operations, safety, or reputation in a truly measurable way? Think TWC, measurable harm.
Question 4. Did you give the employee a genuine chance to explain their side? Due process matters.
It does. Question 5. Would another employee in the same boat, same role, similar conduct get the exact same treatment? That's the crucial consistency check.
And finally, question 6. Do you have documentation for everything? The incident report, the investigation notes, the policy violation, the employee's response, the final decision, and why you made it.
Yeah, the paper trail. If you can confidently answer yes to all 6 of those, your position is significantly more defensible.
So wrapping this up,
Mm.
what's the bottom line for Texas employers dealing with this?
Well, the bottom line is, yes, Texas employers have broad at-will authority, but just relying on that isn't enough, especially if you want to avoid paying out unemployment or losing a lawsuit.
Right.
A defensible termination decision, particularly for off-duty stuff, needs more. It needs clear policies, consistent enforcement, solid documentation, and critically proof that the conduct actually meets that high standard of misconduct connected with the work that caused measurable harm. Without all that, you might win the battle, but lose the war.
That concept of measurable harm really sticks with me, and it feels like it's only getting harder to pin down, especially with how fast things move on social media. The article stressed quantifiable impact. But I wonder, what are the new challenges for employers trying to quantify that harm from something an employee posts online? It changes so fast.
That's a really interesting question, and definitely something complex to think about going forward. The landscape is constantly shifting there.
It really is. Look, walking this tightrope balancing at will, right? It's TWC rules, consistent enforcement. It's incredibly complex. It takes real expertise, especially if you're running a small or mid-sized business without a big HR department.
Absolutely. Trying to DIY this can be very risky.
Which is why, if you need help with this stuff, maybe developing clear policies, getting guidance on a tricky termination, or just getting expert HR support in Texas, we strongly recommend contacting the folks at the Unit Consulting. They really know this landscape.
They do. They focus on practical solutions for businesses here.
You can reach them directly at 956-230-6866. That's 956-230-6866 for tailored, expert HR support. Seriously, don't try to navigate this alone.
Good advice.
All right, that's our deep dive for today. We'll catch you on the next one.